appreciate you joining us for design considerations for destination play. I encourage you to submit any questions and comments using the Q&A button, and we will answer these via email after the event. I'll now turn you over to Ashley Walker.
Thanks, Annabelle. Hi, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join our online learning session about destination play. Today, we will discuss all aspects of destination play spaces, from what makes a play space a destination, what design considerations there are for these spaces, and finally, we'll look at some outstanding case studies from here in Australia, New York, and Barcelona. So what is a destination play space? Very simply, it's a larger play area that will attract visitors from not only the local area, but people from the surrounding suburbs. How we design the layout and select the equipment will go a long way to determining the success of the play space. Given large numbers of people will be travelling to visit the play space, the area needs to be designed to allow for them to stay for several hours and not just 30 minutes. This means having other amenities such as car parking or ideally access to public transport, shaded areas for seating, toilet facilities, barbecues, water fountains, and possibly even a cafe. One of the most important elements for a destination play space is the main play structure itself that gives the wow factor we all love. These pieces can be specifically designed for the project, but more recently, suppliers mainly from Europe have started to offer larger pieces for destination structures as part of their standard product range. Examples of this include installations at Lindarham North in Melbourne, Redbank Plains Recreation Reserve in Queensland, Riverbend Park in Launceston, Tasmania, Shearwater Village in Victoria, and the Warburton Community Recreation Precinct in the Yarra Valley, 1 hour outside of Melbourne. Consideration will also need to be given to a wider and more comprehensive range of equipment that will support and facilitate a large number of users. The equipment can be traditional play elements such as swings, flying foxes, and climbing ropes, just to name a few, but there are many different options as well, such as sport and exercise equipment for people of all ages. After all, grandparents will use the play space as well. Or even the latest in digital technology with interactive play equipment that, as well as being able to accommodate a large number of users at any one time, are also suitable for people of all ages and abilities. Given there are no fall zones, these are fully inclusive. As well as the type of equipment, consideration needs to be given as to how this is positioned within the play space. This is for certification reasons, such as adherence to the Australian standards, but also for practical reasons, such as access for maintenance, which, given the large amount of use the equipment will receive, will be required. It is also a good idea to allow some extra space between the equipment that is over and above the prescribed standards to have some margin for error when on site. As an example, if the location of the play equipment has been designed to the millimetre, but on site a wall has had to be moved and there is not this buffer which allows for some manipulation, then the equipment will not conform to the standards and cannot be certified. Also, having extra room between the play items will allow for more children to occupy the space comfortably. Another practical example when considering a layout is, if there is a large tower, it should not be placed in a location that can cause privacy issues for nearby residents. A great example of the previously mentioned considerations is the proposed play space for Gorky Park in Moscow, where the large destination play piece is accompanied by a range of supporting play items, including interactive technology, spinners, and smaller traditional play elements. Finally, consideration needs to be given about the type of material used to manufacture the playground equipment. While steel is predominantly used for destination play structures, other options are available and could be more suitable for a variety of reasons. As an example, if the play space is near the coast, then timber, plastic, and high-pressure laminates could be a better option than steel due to possible corrosion. However, if steel is needed for structural reasons due to the height of the play tower, then it needs to be to the correct grade of steel or treated as to withstand the harsh conditions of the Australian coast. An example being this proposed project having C5 treatment to the stainless steel posts. If the products are to be used in a natural or nature play environment, then perhaps timber makes sense once again. Also consider that different types of materials have different thermal properties. So is there an alternative material that may not get as hot? If not, how is shade provided so the children can still play? Does it need to cover the whole playground? Or can this be done in a more sympathetic way through incorporating shade into the design and making it part of the structure itself? A destination play space is an exciting proposition, not only for the local community who will reap the many benefits of having this facility, but also for everyone in the delivery process, being clients, designers, manufacturers, and contractors, by providing an important, meaningful, and lasting piece of infrastructure. Destination play can take many shapes and forms. It can also be in a variety of locations, ranging from large open spaces to shopping centres to city centres. But what needs to be remembered is that these are first, foremost, and always a playground. So maximising play value should always be the #1 consideration. After all, play allows children to use their creativity while developing their imagination, dexterity, physical, cognitive, and emotional strength. Play is important to healthy brain development. It is through play that children at a very early age engage and interact with the world around them. There are many considerations for a destination play space. However, we believe that some are more critical than others when creating a memorable experience. These are: landmark. A destination play space should be a real landmark for the community, a place where people can come together to socialise, get to meet new people, and catch up with old friends, and of course, have the children play together. As mentioned at the start, when looking at what makes a destination play space, there should be other amenities such as barbecues, tables and chairs to make it a real community hub that allows people to stay for hours at a time. A great example of the landmark principle comes from the city of Antequera in Spain. Antequera has a rich history of olive oil, so the design brief for the large tower would reference this proud history. At 12 metres high and located in the middle of the main promenade, the olives are visible from both ends of the street, making the park a destination and meeting place for the local community. Excite. A destination play space, and especially the main structure, should be exciting for children and for a vast array of different elements that encourage them to come and start playing. The Santa Maria ship is a great example of play equipment that will excite children. The nautical theme allows their imagination to run wild. Also designed to accommodate 100 children at one time, this will give a lot of interaction with other kids as they discover this vast and exciting space. Interact. A destination play space should be a place where by being excited, children then interact with one another and the environment around them, learning valuable socialisation skills. Successfully interacting with peers enables children to relax and have fun. However, it also encourages the development of critical skills, including language and speech. Peer interaction allows children to practice their receptive language skills or listening comprehension. Discover. A destination playground should be a place children can experience the wonder of discovery. Discovery of the world around them, but also of themselves and what they're capable of. The Gran Adventura playground in Zaragoza, Spain is an amazing place of discovery for children of all ages. As you can see, this is an example of a different type of destination playground being located inside a shopping centre. A series of different sized pods are connected that then allow the children to discover all different parts of the play structure itself in their own way, from the large, open and more exposed pods to the smaller, more intimate ones. Some children will not be daunted by climbing between one pod to another through the open rope sections, but for others, this would be something they're apprehensive about. So by taking on this challenge and completing it, this will allow them to discover what they're capable of. And this takes us to our next consideration, being challenge. A destination playground should also challenge a child's ability. It should challenge them to take risks, to be brave when confronted with an obstacle, to help grow not only their physical ability, but also the confidence in themselves. A fantastic example of a challenge is the Nautilus play structure. This is about the future seen from the past. The shape is based upon the Nautilus, which is one of the first known complex life forms. Curved tubes support multiple play elements, and the shape of the structure itself is a spatial representation of a wormhole. The challenge is for the child to move around the interior of the structure without touching the ground. This is possible thanks to the density of rope play elements it contains. Upon completing the circle, the child finds a galactic gate that allows them to make a quantum leap into another dimension. And finally, play. What we still need to remember is that these amazing places are first and foremost playgrounds. Designing a play space that excites, challenges, and allows for interaction and discovery should always be the first consideration when designing any sort of play space, let alone a destination space. As well as these key elements, there is often the opportunity to have a theme for the overall play space. This theme can be a castle, a space station, a gold mine, or even a character such as Peter Rabbit. This theme can be used for the design of the play structure and complementary play items and all other elements within the play space. Or the theme can be something just for fun, like we see with this spider with steampunk aesthetic. A theme, however, can be used to provide specific learning outcomes for the children. As highlighted when talking about the Ollie's Playground as a landmark, this references the town's proud history with olive oil, giving the children an awareness of the region's history. We will now look at 3 projects, both here in Australia and overseas, where a theme has been used to reference a specific site to give a learning outcome. The first project is known as SWEETWATER Playground, which is located in Domino Park, New York. Domino Park itself occupies a 400-metre stretch of the East River in Brooklyn and covers a total area of 6 hectares. The site used to be home to the Domino sugar refinery, which processed sugar here between 1882 and 2004. So the factory was an important part of the local community and economy for over 120 years. At one time, the factory employed over 4,500 people who were all residents in the nearby suburbs and boroughs of New York City. Since the closure back in 2004, the site sat dormant for many years. However, in recent times, the old refinery has been repurposed as commercial and office space, and there will also be apartments built on the site to create further housing and infill, a portion of which will be used for government and affordable housing. As part of the development approval, a 6-acre section of the site was set aside for public open space, and this is where the playground sits. As you can see, the design for the playground itself references the sugarcane processing factory that came before it. At the highest point, users can experience unparalleled views of New York's skyline, while also visualising how Sweetwater pays homage to the site's historical setting. There are 3 main structures to the playground that are all connected to allow for continuous play. And the theory from designer Mark Riggleman was the children would be embarking on a journey through 3 stages: sugarcane cabin, Sweetwater silo, and the sugar cube centrifuge. Kids will be chopped and discarded from the industrial cabin, filtered into Sweetwater syrup, and emerge as perfectly refined raw sugar. Where possible, part of the original refinery has been recycled to construct the play elements, such as the old floorboards for the cabin, and even the old silo has been repurposed to make a slide. The colours selected reflect those that were associated with the original factory as a way to create further awareness about the site. The enclosed play towers also offer a large amount of playable items designed to challenge and excite the children as they go on their journey from raw sugarcane to refined product. Domino Park celebrates the rich history of one of New York's most iconic industrial waterfront sites, with the playground utilising infrastructure of the refinery and promoting physical activity and social engagement. Through play, we can see how children will develop an understanding and appreciation of Brooklyn's industrial past history and how this has shaped their current day neighbourhood. Closer to home, another example is the Burren Reserve for the City of Glen Ira, and thanks to our friends at ACLA who are the designers of this project for the information used in this case study. The play space is situated within a former water reservoir, which was originally constructed in the late 1800s. The reservoir was decommissioned in the 1970s and transferred to the City of Glen Ira in 2008 to be converted into public open space. With increasing urbanisation and the dominance of technology, children's access to the outdoors and our natural environment is limited, which is why the investment in public open space, and in particular play spaces, is so critical to the healthy development of our younger generations. Burren Reserve is so significant in this sense, as it's one of the rare opportunities to increase public open space in an inner city area, providing benefit to not only the local community, but also regionally. Following initial community consultation, the designers worked collaboratively with council and key stakeholders to design its play space, which is unique, innovative, sustainable, caters to a wide range of ages, cultures and abilities while reflecting the site's rich history. The play space goes beyond providing a standard set of play equipment, which can tend to be too prescriptive in their play value. We wanted to create a space that is immersive, stimulating and challenging, allowing children to make their own decisions, calculate risk, socially interact, learn and explore various aspects of the park. BUNYIP is an outstanding example of taking a significant site, referencing the history to educate through play, but at the same time, always remembering who their client is, the children, in delivering this outstanding result. Finally, we'll take a look at a new play space that has not been built yet, but is worthwhile, as this site is of cultural significance to Indigenous Australians and shows how we can design and help educate about Aboriginal culture. The $15 million project is located in Robina on the Gold Coast, which will become a major city park with extensive public parklands, a village green with performance stage for live music and events, fishing platforms, adventure playgrounds, walking trails, sports fields, and a cafe. Robina is a planned community which began in the early 1980s. However, prior to that, Robina was a wilderness of lagoons, paperbarks, and casuarina. It was also known as the Great Swamp. Carl Lentz, a hinterland pioneer, wrote that the Umbiga people and the first settlers believed that the swamp was home to the mythical creature of the Australian bush and wetlands, the bunyip. The bunyip became the design inspiration for this new destination play structure as part of the new city park. By referencing the bunyip in the design of the new play structure, this would raise the children's awareness of the cultures that inhabited the land where they play, and hopefully will then get a greater understanding of those who used the space before them. As you can see from the illustrations, no one was quite sure what a bunyip looked like, but they were fearsome creatures with large claws. And it's these claws that form the design inspiration, represented by 3 individual towers. The brief for the design was to provide the following: multiple play towers with slide options, high crawling sections across the towers, multiple levels of play for all ages, and an inclusive play zone. 2 quite unique design options were presented for this project. The first followed the design brief, providing the 3 towers, and the second offered a more literal interpretation of the bunyip. For option 1, the 3 towers were categorised and detailed depending upon their size and varying levels of play challenges. From the smaller inclusive tower to the medium challenge one to the one that with the most involved levels of play. The tallest towers are 10.5 metres high, which make them a real landmark for the site. Despite the size, the towers sit sympathetically in the surrounding landscape and complement as opposed to detract, which is a credit to the overall design concept. Further detail is then provided about each tower and how the play elements have been arranged to achieve the desired play outcomes, such as the slides, the climbing nets to the insides of the tower, and the items for inclusive play. As mentioned, option 2 that was presented took more of a literal interpretation of the design inspiration being the bunyip and offered a structure that was still quite large in size and still offered the required play, but in a more challenging aesthetic which conveys the fearsome nature of the bunyip itself. The play structure is still large at 7.5 metres high. However, it sits sympathetically in its surroundings thanks to the choice of materials and colours. The perforated metal offers a level of translucence which sits softly in the landscape and allows for natural dappled light to come into the play space. This also offers shade protection, meaning there was no need for further shade sales that would add extra costs and would reduce the high visual impact. The light brown colour of the structure also ties in with the surrounding natural environment, allowing it to still be visible but not dominate and overwhelm the landscape. The play elements such as the climbing walls, hanging spheres and climbing nets have been selected to be challenging for the children of all ages and abilities, and the timber forest allows for incidental and non-prescriptive play while still referencing the reeds that would have been part of the Great Swamp's ecological system. Although the design creates a great challenge, it goes to show how play can push the boundaries to the non-conventional and the non-normal. Through literal interpretation, this structure would excite, educate and inform and raise awareness about Robina's rich cultural and diverse history. I would now like to hand you over to Hannu Ylinenpää from Lappset, who's all the way from Finland, who will briefly discuss how a manufacturer's perspective, how they design play equipment, the specifics that they take into consideration, and also how a play manufacturer can add value when designing destination play spaces. Over to you, Hannu.
Thanks, Ashley, and I appreciate having a chance to join today's webinar. In the brief time we have today, I will touch on 4 of the main points we consider when designing a destination play structure. These are the science of a play standards, engineering and materiality, budget, and in turn, how can a play company add value? This year celebrates 50 years for Lappset, and we are very much about pushing the boundaries of play to give the children the most rewarding experience possible. In order to achieve this, we need to understand how children play. To name but a few of the design challenges in play, we consider motor skills, cognitive skills, social and emotional skills, gender-specific play, active learning through play, play for all ages, and inclusive play. We have partnered with many leading organizations to achieve the best outcomes in the before mentioned fields, and this guides many of our design decisions. For those interested in finding out more, there are many free blog posts on Lappset website. There are strict guidelines that all play equipment needs to adhere to show that it can be certified for use. In Australia, you have a standard AS 4685, which is very similar to the European standard, and I'm pleased to hear that further changes will be made to your standard to bring this in line with us here in Europe. With risk being an inherent part of a play and child's development, we feel it is our responsibility to push the boundaries of play to give the most exciting and rewarding products while still being safe. Building challenging and intriguing play solutions sometimes creates instances where standards are not a clear-cut matter. Our design and engineering teams design the destination play solutions to playground standards from the start. Final assessment is done for an entire unit at the end. It is advisable for a local safety auditor, in this case in Australia, to run a parallel assessment. We know Lark industry does so today. The third important element in the design process is the engineering of a product to make sure that it is structurally sound and can accommodate the large number of users who will potentially be using a destination play structure at any one time, and that the unit surpasses the client's expected lifespan for it. We also need to make sure that it will be able to withstand site-specific locations, such as is the structure going to be installed on windy coastlines in Australia, meaning we need to consider the lateral forces, or will this be here in Finland where we get a lot of snow, which has its own unique challenges that you in Austria don't need to consider. Also, the shape of the destination structures differ quite a lot from traditional play products. They are often taller, narrower, and have irregular shapes. This means that clever engineering solutions may need to be employed to make the tower structurally sound, but at the same time, it doesn't take away from the aesthetic, play value, and the safety of the structure itself. This can be done through a variety of means, such as incorporating a range of different materials, such as timber, high-pressure laminated, polycarbonate, steel beams, wire bracing, just to name a few. Engineering is also responsible for a design not only suitable for manufacture, but also transport and installation. As the aesthetic of a destination play structure is so much part of its attraction, when you as a client or designers don't want to have this compromised by unattractive structural elements, which through clever design and engineering could not be necessary. As much we will all love to have an open checkbook with the endless pool of money, this is not the case, so we all need to be careful with how we allocate and spend the funds for a project. By working with the play company, a fully costed, engineered and certified play solution can be provided. It is our belief that the best outcome for destination play structure is when there is an early engagement, a partnership between a designer or landscape architect and the play manufacturer who have a detailed understanding of specific play design for manufacture, as well as for installation and the standards. This is ideal as a designer can utilize the knowledge and experience of a play manufacturer to offer suggestions on how to incorporate play areas or experience or challenges within the confines of a standards, but also how to add risk safely into experience. The benefits of engaging a play manufacturer include understanding cost of a manufacturer, understanding design for a manufacturer and installation, the ability to apply the standards to give a best overall play experience, drive cost efficiency through the use of off-the-shelf play components that have been tried, tested, and certified. These components being standard also easily replaceable if required. Finally, a play manufacturer can provide the fully warranted engineered solution. In conclusion, provision of peace of mind, minimization of surprises at the installation stage. Thank you for your time, and I hope that this has given you some insight about how Lappset as a play company approach the design of a destination play structure and how we can add value to your project. We love being involved with these as they challenge and excite our team. But the real reward is the feedback we get from our customers and the end users about how much they love playing on these. I will now hand back to Ashley for his detailed case study to conclude this webinar.
Thanks, Hannu, for those great insights. And to finish, we're going to have an in-depth look at the WOW project in Barcelona, Spain. But to understand how this outstanding project came about, it's important to look at the policies and initiatives instigated and implemented by the City of Barcelona. The city has introduced a plan for play in Barcelona's public spaces. The framework is based upon the philosophy of Francesco Tonucci, who is an Italian thinker and educational psychologist, and has written many books on the role of children in the urban ecosystem. Tonucci's theory is that cities should be structured and created with children in mind. The plan for play in Barcelona's public spaces is looking to move from the city with purely designated play areas to being a more playable city by 2030. Its aim is to improve and diversify opportunities for play and physical activity in public spaces due to the great benefits these activities have for children and teenagers' development, well-being, and for the health of the overall community. It also responds to the United Nations recommendations to enhance the right to play, a specific human right for all children and adolescents. With this plan, Barcelona is seeking to achieve a paradigm shift, becoming a city with play areas that are more diverse, creative, accessible and inclusive, while placing the entire city's urban planning at the service of play. The driving force of the plan for play is composed of 10 steps that encourage and change the attitude towards play. Examples include simple things such as removing the city's signs banning ball games to more aspirational goals like creating new urban sports parks in collaboration with young people. Barcelona has over 900 children's play areas, and these are the spaces that the Plan for Play intends to improve and diversify. However, the plan also proposes initiatives for increasing play opportunities in every area of public space. That is, wherever games are played spontaneously or by chance. A way of exemplifying the policy change with regards to play in the city is to include unique and appealing elements that offer a variety of play and exploration opportunities for children. The first 5 elements were installed in 2018 and 19, and these form part of 10 key milestones to be achieved by 2030. We are going to focus on the whale installed at the No Barris Central Park, which is located approximately 10 kilometres from the centre of Barcelona. The park was constructed in 1992, and research from the Barcelona Laboratory for Urban Environmental Justice and Sustainability says of the park that children who play in the park central of the No Barris neighbourhood know where to find the swings, where to play with dirt, and where the best hiding places are. They tell us what their favourite places are, where their home is. They have a clear understanding of the do's and don'ts and know what they are afraid of and capable of doing or not doing without relying solely on the signs or what their parents tell them. They negotiate whose turn it is next on the zip line or the best way to recover a ball caught in a tree branch. We see in some a repertoire of interactions with social and physical environment that corresponds with the highly sought after notion of free play. In addition, as a place frequently used for recreation, socialisation and informal care, there is a sense of shared responsibility among its users towards the care of children. These qualities are what we refer to as relational wellbeing, the social relationships, connections and interactions that produce wellbeing. Given this, the park was selected for the whale, which is an amazing piece of play equipment that clearly addresses all the points discussed and the prescribed Plan for Play brief from the city of Barcelona. The whale was an idea that was encouraged by the imagination of several groups of children from the neighbourhood who participated in a co-creative process for ideas for a playable city. The designers needed to understand from the children what they wanted to have in their destination playground, how they liked to play, and also to get an understanding of how the local park was important to them. Understanding the desires of the children, the whale has several clever design elements, including being enclosed, which meant that there was no need to spend extra money on shade structures, which would add cost and reduce the amount to be spent on providing play options. Shade cells would also introduce a separate visual barrier, which would not give the visual stimulation and excitement that encourages children to come, explore and start to play. The whale has extraordinary complexity since the interior volume is over 200 cubic metres of play space, which is a lot, but a great deal of consideration needed to be given to what makes this space, to make sure the amount of play was maximised. Given the vast space and the shape, if this had not been done correctly, then this project would not have been as successful as it has been. In this photo, we can see how the language of the design from the previous slide has been brought into life in extraordinary detail. From the krill ropes at the top of the whale, which offer a unique and challenging climbing experience for the older children, to the labyrinth membrane, which separates the krill ropes from the whitefish climbing elements for younger children. And finally, the 2 large tube slides that complete the journey. These 2 slides have 2 separate entries, one being lower for younger children and one being higher for the older children, or those who wish to discover their abilities and take on more of a challenge. Sensory elements, such as the torque tubes, sand play, and even a moving fin have been added to give it extra levels of play, as well as being inclusive for children with physical, mental, confidence, or social concerns. Finally, smaller items of complementary play, which once again are more suited to younger children, have been included into the play space. These items, as you can see from the climbing frame, reference back to the overall theme of the project. In conclusion, the whale shows what is possible when you have a client, in this instance, the City of Barcelona, who is clear in their vision for what they want to achieve. A design team who, through consultation with the children who will use the space, have intimate knowledge of how they play and interact with each other, and also want what they wanted and expected from their play space. And finally, a manufacturer who works with the design team to provide a world-class piece of play equipment that will entertain and excite children for many years to come. Thanks very much for your time, and we hope you have enjoyed our online learning about destination play. and found it helpful and has given some food for thought when planning and designing a destination play space. And remember to play up and work out.